Amazon's hit superhero show in... Wow, what was that? I'm just trying to say in... Stop it! The TV show on Amazon called in... Okay, fine, you know what show I'm talking about. The one with Omni-Man and his son who's invulnerable? Ha! That one. We know that season 2 of the hit show is going to be insane, and today I wanted to discuss all the dangling plot threads and season 2 theories that could happen. And don't worry, there won't be full-on comic spoilers, but rather theorizing on the plot lines the show itself has presented, so let's get into it right now.
You missed a few letters.
Paint costs money and you got a long-ass name.
Okay, we gotta talk about the big one first, and that's Omni-Man's Season 2 fate. The Season 1 finale of Invincible was utter insanity. Like, we knew this was going to be a bloody show after its very first episode when Nolan dispatched the OG Guardians of the Globe in gruesome fashion. But I don't think anyone could have expected the carnage and mayhem inflicted on countless civilians in the Season 1 finale. Mark finally got to see what his father truly was, and although he initially thought there was some weird mind control shenanigans going on, it was quickly made clear that this was who Omni-Man always was. And the results were terrifying. Although things started off in a mostly empty field, one punch from Omni-Man sent Mark flying into the city, where the catastrophe was so massive it made me never want to step foot on a train or subway ever again. Sorry I'm late everyone, but I chose to walk here because Invincible's Season 1 finale made me afraid of public transportation, you get it, right? Anyways, just when it looked like Nolan would truly put Mark's Invincible moniker to the test by saying he'll eliminate him and start over, Nolan was hit with some past feels and couldn't go through with it, choosing instead to fly away. So the big question becomes, where did he go and when will he come back? We know him leaving was a huge deal, as Alan the alien said a Viltrumite had never abandoned his post before. So it seems likely that Omni-Man just wouldn't go home to Viltrum in order to regroup. Well, I said that I wouldn't spoil too much of the comics, so I'll keep this next part sort of vague. No, Omni-Man doesn't go home, he goes to another planet in order to try to lessen his crime of desertion, and all that really matters is that you pray for the souls of those individuals. But I want to focus more on when Omni-Man will return to Earth, if ever. The show might be different from the comics, and narratively, I could see Omni-Man making his grand return to Earth in the Season 2 finale, where he'll confront a Mark who spent time training and growing to the point where the fight isn't as one-sided. Or maybe Omni-Man never returns to Earth, and the future of this show will keep things galactic. Either way, it will be interesting to see if the show keeps the emotional connection between Mark and his father the beating heart of the show, or if it will expand beyond that. While talking with Alan the alien, the one-eyed Seth Rogen-sounding extraterrestrial mentioned the Coalition of Planets, which is a group formed to fight the Viltrumite Empire. Alan says they've mostly always been behind in this war, but the notion of a Viltrumite defecting and abandoning his post might be the turning point they needed in order to gain some ground in this conflict. So the big question here is, just how impactful will the Coalition of Planets be in Season 2? Because let's face it, they sound like a big deal. They're being positioned as the heroic rebels to the evil Viltrumite Empire, but just based on the show itself, would things really be that simple? Given that Invincible has worked hard to deconstruct the common tropes of the superhero genre, will the Coalition be the ultimate force for good that they're being presented as? They could possibly just want to use Mark as a prop piece in order to gain control themselves, without really caring what happens to Mark or his home planet. If that's the case, Mark might find himself in the middle of a war between the Viltrumites and the Coalition, both being bad in their own ways. But that's just speculation. If the Coalition are actually good guys, that doesn't mean Mark still won't refuse them. Think about it, Alan seems sure that the Coalition would be stoked about the current situation, but that might mean the Coalition would try to convince Mark to join them on their journey through space, leaving Earth unprotected from all the wacky threats it constantly faces. So Mark might have to decide between joining the rebels or protecting his home planet, and that's the sort of interesting dilemma the show has proven to thrive with. Let's turn the focus back on Earth for a bit. One of the show's most interesting, slightly morally ambiguous characters is Cecil. He's in charge of the Global Defense Agency and on the whole seems to want to protect human lives. But just how far would he go in order to do that? The end of the season showcased Cecil's good side, with him seemingly trying everything he could in order to help Mark and his mom get back on their feet. He said that he knew the efforts to protect their identities as well as provide them enough money to live comfortably wouldn't stop the hurt out, but he said he wanted to try to do everything he could in order to make things right again. Now, when he said that, it seemed genuinely sweet, but then the Season 2 tease happened. It was shown in a brief snippet that Cecil was working with D.A. Sinclair in order to further reconstruct the Reanimen, and you have to wonder if Omni-Man breaking bad was Cecil's breaking point. Yes, in the Reanimen's first episode, Cecil displayed disgust over what Sinclair was doing and thought he was a monster, but notably did not destroy all traces of the Reanimen. Maybe Cecil is now more willing to make sacrifices like a few ordinary civilians, or, more likely, something like prison inmates or something in order to give Sinclair the parts needed for the new Reanimen hybrids. If that's the case, although he's doing this for the greater good, this is definitely something Mark would be against and could put the two in conflict with each other. Who do you think would win between Invincible and the mighty resourceful Cecil? Who knows? One of my favorite episodes in Invincible Season 1 was Episode 5, That Actually Hurt. In it, we got to know Titan, a street-level superhero who seemed to want a way out of organized crime, but turned out to be a lot more ambitious than that. The end result left a lot of heroes horribly injured, but Titan was able to navigate the arrest of crime boss Machine Head and make it work to his advantage. For those of you that know the comic, you know that Titan continues to be important to the story, and there are some surprises coming up that I hope we can look forward to, but let's talk about what we actually saw on screen. Titan sitting pretty comfortably in the boss's chair when a mysterious metal-mouthed old man shows up to do battle with Titan. As Titan turns to stone, you would think that we're about to witness a metal-on-rock fight, but nope. The old man surprises us by unleashing a dragon from within him. Who's this guy? Well, in the comics, this is Mr. Liu, a villain who long ago lost his family and land to a dragon. Sorcerers found a way to trap the dragon within a volunteer's body, but it came with a catch. If Mr. Liu ever passes away, the dragon will be released. So he's been kept alive by cybernetic enhancements just to ensure that doesn't happen. In the meantime, he can summon the dragon to fight things, but just goes unconscious when he does that. Hopefully his introduction also means we're getting the Order, which is a team of supervillains that would be the perfect antagonists for the new Guardians of the Globe. If you have a name like Invincible, then you better live up to that moniker. Yes, obviously the season finale was tough on Mark, as his father trained him with tough love. See what I did there? But that wasn't the first time Mark had his clock cleaned. Battle Beast was a baddie introduced as serious muscle, but it's crazy to the extent that the alien kicked all the butt. He is a warrior obsessed with finding a worthy opponent to face him, and he hasn't had much luck in that department. Like, he probably heard this Invincible kid is the star of the show and has a name that just promises strength, so chances are Mark could hold his own against Battle Beast, right? But nope. Battle Beast not only made me think Invincible should change his name to Half-Human Punching Bag, but he also severely injured Black Samson and Monster Girl. This villain means business, and the finale promised that Battle Beast is still out there fighting anyone who gets in his path. And here's the interesting thing. The comic and show creator Robert Kirkman has expressed how in the comic, Battle Beast had a bit of a limited arc, but he wanted to expand that in the show because Battle Beast is such a fun character. That's good news for us, but probably not the best news for Mark, though I could see this working out really well. If they wanted to bring back Battle Beast a bit later, it would be awesome to see a rematch where Mark is able to overcome and beat him this time. It would show that Mark is growing as a hero, and if he's ever going to beat his father, that's what the show needs to highlight. Maybe Mark will defeat Battle Beast, the two will become uneasy allies, and then fight together to stop the Viltrumites. Doc Seismic took a dive into the lava pits after battling Invincible and Adam Eve, which for any normal person would mean certain doom. But this is Doc Seismic we're talking about. He's a real when life gives you lemons, make lemonade type of guy. So he turned his lava dive into a positive by apparently stumbling onto a group of sentient lava people and taking control. But is everything as it seems here? This is Invincible, so probably not. Not to go into too much detail, but it seems like Seismic's powwow with the lava folk is setting the stage for the supervillain Volcanica. But if that's the case, why didn't we see her? I guess we'll have to wait and see if that story will change at all. I wouldn't mind the social justice warrior madman, aka Doc Seismic, resurfacing in Season 2. I don't think he was able to fully showcase how dangerous he is because of Adam Eve severely tampering his bracelets, so let's hope he got them fixed. Oh, and I also hope he's worked on his jetpack this time around. Although most of the rapidly aging Flaxans were brutally wiped out by Omni-Man in the show, the finale revealed that there's at least a small percentage of their population left who are determined to rebuild and get revenge on Omni-Man. Yeah, normally I would say good luck with that, as their track record isn't great, but I wonder if the show is teasing their reappearance to adapt a certain comic storyline. The Flaxan battle unfolds a bit differently in the comics, with Omni-Man seemingly being captured by the Flaxans and held for 8 months before leading a revolt. What if the show does something similar? We know the Flaxans have a beef with Omni-Man, so what if they return in full force, capture him, and hold him captive and force him to not rely on his powers in order to escape and get revenge? Honestly, that end result probably will just make Nolan more dangerous, so it might be better for the universe if this doesn't happen. Yeah, if you're planning a weekend trip to Mars or IDK, secured a spot on Elon Musk's secret Mars rocket, shh, don't tell anyone we told you that, then you might actually want to rethink your plans because Mars isn't doing great. The trip to Mars represented one of Mark's first big solo hero gigs, and I gotta say, he earned a solid C+. Not great, but it got the job done. Kinda. The ending of both the episode and the season hint at big things with the shape-shifting Martians and the Sequids. For one, the episode itself revealed that one of the human astronauts was replaced by a Martian, but we didn't get a resolution to that. Will that Martian be happy living a normal human life, or is it using its shape-shifting ability to accumulate more power? And then, meanwhile, the Sequids are just overrunning Mars right now, which begs the question, when will they make their way to Earth? Earth is in a vulnerable state right now without Omni-Man, so the Sequids could easily be another invading alien force Mark has to deal with in order to keep the peace. Mark will definitely be wiser when facing them again, but let's just hope he's smarter too, because that original mission was sloppy from start to finish. The Mauler Twins had a relatively less aggressive Season 2 tease compared to the others, but given their importance in Season 1, I don't see them being sidelined for too long. Yes, they're back in jail again after that whole robot experience, but their mischievous smiles at the end of the season suggest that they don't think they'll be here for that long. And that's probably true. Security just doesn't seem adequate enough to handle those two. But giving them a return means making sure their story and arcs aren't just a rehash of before. Would them breaking out of jail again to wreak havoc get a little repetitive? Maybe. So that's why their story needs to be updated. Maybe they'll be back to help Invincible with a robot problem since they're the experts, but more on robot a bit later. One superhero who actually seems like he could stand a small chance against Omni-Man is the Immortal. Sure, his track record in the show is 0 for 2, but he always puts up a good fight, and he has the tendency to keep coming back. I mean, it's sorta in the name, right? Here's the question, would you rather be invincible or immortal? Invincible means it's ridiculously hard for you to be taken out, but being immortal means that if you're ripped in half or decapitated, you're gonna come back. Tough call. After being revived in the show, only to be the catalyst for Mark seeing what his father truly is, Immortal is shown to be being stitched back together in the White Room. So what's going to happen when he wakes up? Logically, he'll go back to the Guardians of the Globe and help be their powerhouse hero. But will he vibe with this new generation, or will his addition cause friction? I think throwing an OG member onto the new team is a great way to shake up the dynamics a bit, don't you think? Okay, this isn't exactly superhero related, but I do think the blooming love triangle will be a big component in Season 2. As much as I ship Mark with Adam Eve, Amber has proven herself to be a kind, compassionate anchor for Mark in this crazy, crazy world. Sure, in the show, her original stated decision of breaking up with Mark for abandoning them when they were attacked by D.A. Sinclair's monster doesn't really make sense when it's later revealed that she knew he was invincible for a while. But if the show devotes more time to her character, I think everything will become a bit clearer down the line. But what about Adam Eve? I just think a love triangle between Mark Amber, who represents his human normal side, and Adam Eve, who can keep up with his superhero antics, is a fun problem for the show to explore. Because yes, this is a superhero show, but we still care about all these characters' lives, right? One of the first season's most mysterious characters was Robot, who had his own major subplot involving the Mauler Twins that led to his consciousness being swapped into the body of a young boy. We learned he did this because his original body wasn't in great shape, and he wanted to be around the same age as Monster Girl, at least physically. But now that Robot's got what he wants, is he going to be happy? Comic readers know how Robot's arc turns out, but with everything we've gone through with the character in Season 1, do you think he'll stay a good guy or have a villainous heel turn in the future? The show has reordered and changed a lot about how certain plot elements unfold, but it would be a shame if they didn't follow through with Robot's story, because trust me, it gets wild. Like, really, Robot and Monster Girl could have their own spin-off show given everything they go through, and frankly, I wouldn't be mad at it. The final thing I hope Season 2 of Invincible does is tease the arrival of Angstrom Levy. This villain is definitely the second biggest antagonist in the Invincible series and is actually from a different reality than ours and comes with the ability to jump through different universes. Bringing in the idea of multiple universes is all the rage now in superhero properties, so why wouldn't Invincible get in on the fun? And here's the great thing about Angstrom Levy. He's practically confirmed for the second season. Creator Robert Kirkman basically said he'll play a big part in the story they're telling, so now the question is, with all the other big setups for the second season that I just discussed, how exactly will Angstrom Levy fit in? Like, sure, you can tie his story in with the Mauler Twins pretty easily, given their comic history, but what about everything else? Sounds like just a big headache for Mark. Bad for him, but hey, great for us. My biggest question actually about Season 2 is who will continue to fill out the A+ voice cast? Stephen Yeun, J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh, Mark Hamill, Mahershala Ali, Walton Goggins, Ezra Miller, Seth Rogen, the list goes on. Who else would fit right in with this stellar crew? With Amazon money, that list is endless.